Hi everyone, welcome to our Pokemon program for this weekend. Now, as I'm sure you know, if you come to the library very often, we do a little Pokemon tournament first Saturday of every single month. Since we don't currently know what is going on with libraries in general, when we're going to be opening up, we may be doing some more online content for the time being until we know exactly when people are going to be coming into the library and also when programs are going to be starting up, which have the potential to be two different things. And so for the time being, we thought that today we could do some deck building. For those of you who come often, and even if you don't come often, you know Mr. John, who is my husband, and he helps me out with my Pokemon program because the first few times that I did it, it got a little too big for me to do by myself, and so I recruited him. So let us get started today, okay?
So first things first, is this is the part where a lot of parents get confused. So parents, I'm going to clear up a lot of your confusion right here. Is there is a base set of rules in the Pokemon card game. And there are cards, and the cards will have different rules on them. So the golden rule of trading card games of any kind, which is slightly different than the golden rule you've probably learned, is that if the cards in the base set of rules conflict with each other, the cards win.
Let's go with the cards.
The second part of that is the silver rule. And what the silver rule is something I just made up, so don't look it up. And what that is that means that everything that I say today should be taken with a grain of salt. It's a rule of thumb because the rules of the game are constantly changing.
Yep. Basically what he's trying to say is we're total amateurs. We do this for fun. We don't do this for a living. I've never competed in a tournament, to my knowledge. You never have either.
Nope.
So just take it with a grain of salt. We really wanted to do this as an opportunity to really interact with you guys since we haven't been able to see you for, almost 2-ish months now. And
Too long.
Yeah, it's way too long.
I miss my Pokemon cards.
I miss my kids. I really do. Oh my goodness. You guys, you don't even know.
I'm going to put it out there that we might be doing an advanced set of deck building if people are interested.
Let me just tell you, I only asked him to make me a thing on playable, how to do a playable deck. He then sat down for 6 hours on his day off. His day off.
Well, you actually said an effective playable deck, and those are two completely different things. You can have a playable deck and not an effective deck.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, but about 1 hour was the playable, about 5 hours was the effective.
So, if you're interested, we have about another 5 hours of work this man put into it. So if you would like more, we may be doing this the first Saturday of, let's see, this is May, June.
And go ahead and just let us know if you're interested, just because even if the whole situation's over and things are somewhat back to normal, we might still put one up just in case people are interested. So going on from that, I'm just going to jump right into the actual parts of the deck to make it legal according to the base set of rules. So the rules for that are your deck must be exactly 60 cards. Some card games allow lower, some card games allow higher. In Pokemon, you don't have a choice. Your deck is 60 cards. That's it. Number 2, you must have at least one basic Pokemon somewhere in your deck. This does lead to a kind of oddball thing where technically a legal deck would be that you could have 59 energy and then one basic Pokemon.
Don't do that.
It's awful, and no one should ever do that for a whole host of reasons, but it technically is legal. Again, right now we're just covering the base rules, not a playable deck.
Now that you've said that, I kind of want to try it just to see.
It's awful.
Have you tried it?
Yes. Number 3 is every named card in your deck. You can only have 4 copies of a named card. If you go up to that 5th, it's no longer a legal deck. You have to keep it at 4 or under. Having less than 4 is fine. More than 4 is not fine. So as an example, you can have 4 EVs in your deck. That's fine. 5, your deck is not legal.
However, the whole thing about having 4, like say 4 EVs, art is not included in that rule. So even if the art is a little bit different, 4 EVs is still 4 EVs, right?
Yes, and that is also true. So if different art, it doesn't matter. If the name says Eevee, they count towards that limit. So you can't have 3 EVs of one art style and then 2 EVs of another, because that's a total of 5 EVs. With one little catch. And the little catch is it's the full name. So if you have 4 EVs And 4 EVEXs, those
Technically
are
different.
actually different Pokemon.
Mhm.
One's an EV, one's an EVEX. You can have 4 and 4. That's fine.
Yeah, you can
Just
have a
can't go up to
full-on
5
EV
copies of
deck.
each. So we're going to go into how to make a playable deck that you can actually play with friends, family, caregivers. Now we're going to just talk about some guidelines that will make it more fun for you. So the number one rule is make sure you have a mix of trainer cards, energy cards, and Pokemon. I'm going to give you 2 rules for those in a little bit. But the first rule we're just going to cover is going to be a good mix when you're first starting out is going to be 20 Pokemon, 20 trainer cards, 20 energy. 20, 20, 20, it adds up to 60 because you have to have 60. It's just the way Pokemon works. The other way to do it, which is slightly more advanced, is just actually trainers are where the speed and power comes from your deck normally. So what that means is that slightly more trainers are actually better. So a better one would be 30 trainers, 15 Pokemon, 15 energy when you're first starting out for a playable deck. Don't worry about what they are. The other one is when you have any Pokemon. So Pokemon come in different stages. Basic, stage 1, stage 2, etc. If you have any Pokemon at a higher stage, so if you have a stage 2 Pokemon, make sure you have a stage 1 Pokemon that can evolve into that stage 2 Pokemon. Then make sure you have a basic Pokemon that can evolve into that stage 1 Pokemon. Otherwise, if you put a Charmander and a Charizard in your deck, so a basic and a stage 2, you will never be able to play Charizard, allowing for the golden rule of Pokemon, which is actually there are ways to do it, but it's much too convoluted and we won't get into it here. So for basic, those are called evolution chains. So just make sure you can start from a basic and get up to the highest one you want and you'll be golden. So my third guideline for us to have a playable deck that's fun and we can use is going to be to make sure that you only are using 1 or at most 2 types of energy. So
yes.
I will go, for those of you who don't know what energy cards are, that's fine. I'll explain that later down in the video. But for right now, just know that normally you only want to have 1 type of energy, and then you want to have at most 2 types. So some of those rules can be broken as you get access to more cards and you know what you're doing. But for right now, that's a perfect way to start out and play a very playable deck. So now what I'm going to do is, thank you for those of you who stuck around this long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the different types of cards for people who don't know them. So the 3 major categories is going to be Pokemon themselves. So just Pokemon. Then it's going to be trainers, and then it's going to be energy. So those are the 3. The first one we're actually going to cover is energy. So energy, this is what actually allows you to use any moves that your Pokemon has. One is electric. The next one is fighting. The next one is fire. The next one is water. The next one is psychic. The next one is nature. The next one is fairy. The next one is dark. And then the last one is steel. And all the ones I just showed you are basic energy cards. The basic energy cards, you can actually have as many of them as you want in the deck. It's the one exception to the rule of they're not named cards. So therefore, you can have as many of them as you want.
Make adhering to the 60 card rule.
Right. So the other type of energy is what is called special energy. So all it means is that it both counts as an energy, counts as 1 nature energy. This will count as 1 or more, whatever types of energy it is, and it will also add an additional rule to the card. So in this case, this is the very, 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 very common, in fact, virtually every deck runs this, double colorless special energy. You will see this card a lot. It's just very useful to have. So this is a special energy. This is rainbow energy. You will see this one as well. Less common than that one, but you'll still see it. These are special energies. Special energies do fall under the 4 named cards. You can only have 4 double colorless in your deck. You can only have up to 4 rainbow energy in your deck. Can't go more than that. So that was the energy. So the next one that we're going to cover is we're going to cover the Pokemon themselves. So best way to know that something is a Pokemon, and I should real quick throw in that if you have older cards for whatever reason, they are going to look slightly different. The ones that I'm showing today are mostly the newer cards. So the information will all still be there. It just will be in a slightly different spot and will look different. But generally, the best way to tell is if you look in the upper left-hand corner of the card, it is going to tell you what type it is, whether it's a basic, whether it's a stage 1, whether it's a stage 2, etc. That's generally the best way to tell that something is a Pokemon. So if I go ahead and move slightly closer here to the camera just so I can say this, here is a basic Rowlet, and you can see up in the upper left hand where it says basic. Here is a stage 1 Datrix, and Emily will probably correct my pronunciation because I'm awful at pronouncing
these are
things.
the new ones. I don't know those.
That is very true. And then we have Decidueye, which is a stage 2. So just as a reminder, the way that it works in the game is you have a basic Pokemon, then on the next turn you can evolve that into a stage 1, then on the next turn you can evolve that into a stage 2 to have a stronger stage 2 Pokemon. Then you have some other ones, so I'm just going to put this one close here. This is an Espeon EX. Now the EX is part of the name, but you'll also notice that it's basic, and when you're doing the deck building, that's really more important than the other part of it when you're first starting out. So really the ones that you want to look out for, you'll also see other ones like GXs are fairly common and things like that. Those are the main 5 categories you're going to see. You're going to see basic, stage 1, stage 2, EXs, and GXs, which are a special form of basic. Those are the Pokemon that you're generally going to see. Now you know what that... Now you know what those evolution chains were. Thank you. You're making me feel like a wonderful explainer. So the final category I'm going to talk about today is going to be trainers. Now, I'm only going to talk about 4 types of trainers. So there are other ones, but we're going to talk about the 4 ones that you'll virtually see in every game that you play. So you can see what a trainer is by, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, it will say trainer. Then opposite that, it will say what subcategory it is. So this is a trainer that is also an item. Then another very common category is a supporter card. This is another trainer, which is a stadium card. Then this is a trainer card that is an item card that is also a Pokemon tool card, which you'll see down here. So you have the 3 different types of major categories. You have energy, you have Pokemon, and then you have trainers. So just with those right there, you already know everything you need to play a playable deck. I did want to touch base on something real quick that people will run into when they're out there. They'll start hearing about things like banned cards. They'll start hearing about formats like standard, extended, unlimited, things like that. There's different formats in Pokemon that basically mean what cards are allowed. So if you go to a extended tournament, there are a certain amount of cards that are allowed. What they do is every few months, Pokemon will release a new set of cards. So then what happens is when that happens, some of the old cards drop off these lists. So you have a constantly revolving door of what cards are allowed. Of the really old stuff at the bottom and the new stuff right at the top. Standard is the newest stuff. It's the newest things back. If you're interested in actually knowing it, just go to the Pokemon website. Emily will link to it. And it will actually just tell you, here's the last set playable. Here's all the sets released from them.
They're really good at updating it.
Extended is simply more. It's farther down the list. Not all the way down. It's farther down the list. So more than standard, less than unlimited. Unlimited means anything that has not been explicitly banned. You can also find a banned list on there.
And that's what we are. We are right now unlimited.
So as long as everyone, stays roughly equal footing, we won't have to make any more rules. Everyone can still play your really old cards that just because they happen to be when you were a kid.
Hey, don't call me out.
But it might change in the future. If you're at a place that only allows standard cards, make sure you know what those are. If you're at a place that allows extended cards, make sure you know what those are. And if you're at a place that allows unlimited, make sure you know what those are. At Hudson Falls, we're very, very open. We don't try to, we try not to limit anyone who comes in, especially since a lot of people have very small collections. We do have decks if you show up that you can use, but there's something very, very fun about having your own deck that you slowly tweak over time that makes it very fun, like my little Flareon deck.
Yeah, your Flareon deck is fun.
I like my Flareon deck.
What's the one that you have to discard everything?
That's my Flareon deck.
Oh, that's his Flareon deck.
Like
okay. I thought they were 2 separate things.
It's adorable. It's my Eevee Flareon deck.
I just play like what, the 2016 Greninja deck?
Yes, you play the
Yeah, that's
2016
a fun
Greninja
one.
deck
I
in
like that
Smash
one.
Me.
Yeah, it's fun to demolish it.
Yeah.
I'm planning on connecting to this particular video some resources for parents, especially. One thing that comes up a lot is that we are a place that does not allow trading normally. It just causes a lot of problems. Kids and parents and myself often, and Mr. John, don't always know the value of your card, and so I'm going to link to a website that will tell you the value of your card. Also, an area that's going to link to a Pokemon trading card game guide. So it'll give you the rules. I'm going to connect some other resources as well. So if you are interested in this, as we have said throughout the video, we would love to continue doing this because we don't currently know the current state of the world, and we will most likely be continuing some online content for the time being. And so if you're interested, please, please, please tell us. And other than that, thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll see you at a later date.